We welcome you to this review of the 7th Global China Dialogue with the theme of Reforming Global Governance and Related Activities. It was held at the British Academy on 10th December 2021. The dialogue consisted of 4 panels: Transformations, Society and Environment, Digital Security and Geopolitics, Personal and Cultural Identities, State and Corporation, Reforming the Institutions. The dialogue was co-organized by the Global China Academy and the ESRC Center for Corpus Approaches to Social Science at Lancaster University, and supported and sponsored by many universities and institutions at home and abroad. At the offline and online hybrid conference, scholars and experts from the UK, China, France, Germany, and the USA conducted extensive and in-depth discussions on the theory and practice of reforming global governance. Following previous practice, the bilingual proceedings of the dialogue will be published. This 90-minute video presents highlights of the day's events, including the launch of the Global China Academy, GCA, and of new publications by Global Century Press, GCP, as well as photos and lists of panel chairs and the topics of speakers in different sessions throughout the day. Some short videos with English and Chinese bilingual subtitles of the launch of the GCA and new publications by GCP are shown, including those sent in by some absent fellows and representatives of organizers, supporters, and sponsors. Participants in the hall of the British Academy, where registration took place. Samples of journals and book series published by Global Century Press were displayed in the gallery on the first floor. Participants browsed the sample books on display. Opening session. The opening session was chaired by Professor Tony McEnery, FACSS, FRSA, Distinguished Professor of English Language and Linguistics at Lancaster University, Council Member, Academy of Social Sciences, Chair of Global China Academy Council, and Founding Fellow. Greetings. Greetings from the political arena were received from Mr. Dan Chug, Director, Northeast Asia and China, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, UK Government. Greetings from the political arena were received also from Mr. Yang Xiaoguang, Minister of the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to the UK. Professor Lord Anthony Giddens, former Director of the London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE, gave a special address. Greetings from academia were received also from Professor Li Jiang, lifetime professor and former Dean of School of Social Sciences, Tsinghua University, Chinese Chair and Founding Fellow of Global China Academy Council. Keynote Speeches. The first keynote speech, China's Place in the World Today, was given by Professor Martin Albrow, FACSS, Honorary President of Global China Academy, UK. The second keynote speech, Improving Well-Being via Positive Interventions in China, was given by Professor Peng Kaiping, Dean of School of Social Sciences, Tsinghua University, China. The keynotes were followed by the announcement of the founding of the Global China Academy and the presentation of certificates of appreciation to the retired Honorary President and the Chinese Honorary President. A certificate of appreciation was presented to retired Honorary President Professor Martin Earlbrow by Professor Tony McEnery, Chair of Global China Academy Council and Founding Fellow.
It's my enormous pleasure to announce the launch of the Global China Academy, of course, which we're doing here today. We'll do much more of that this evening. But as part of that, I'm outgoing chair. I'll be replacing as chair of the Global China Academy. And we will be sending him a letter of thanks in due course. But you know what's happening next, Martin. Martin is here, and of course, let me read the citation on this rather magnificent certificate that we have ready for you. We're thanking you upon your retirement as honorary president of the Global China Academy for your academic guidance in fostering and nurturing the Academy and Global Century Press, and for your intellectual input and activities in supporting and participating in the first 7 Global China Dialogue forums. Your dedicated efforts and services are greatly appreciated.
A great surprise, I could say, that it couldn't have been done without the cooperation of so many people, above all the founder of the Global China Dialogues Academy and all the rest, Professor Zhang Chang. It's really she who should be getting the certificate, but I gladly associate her with this particular certificate. Thank you very much, Zhang Chun, and thank you all for supporting these dialogues over. It's been many years now, it's number 7, but we've been planning for 10 years, and I thought it would be a very good thing for the next 10 years to be able to hand this over to Professor McEnery here. I'm truly grateful to you, Tony.
I'm grateful to you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Some participants at the opening ceremony. Panel 1, Transformations, Society and Environment. The Panel 1 chair and discussant was Professor Julia Strauss, Department of Politics and International Studies, SOAS, University of London, former editor of China Quarterly, Vice President and Founding Fellow of Global China Academy, UK. Professor Jeffrey Sachs, Director of the Center for Sustainable Development, Columbia University, USA, delivered his speech online. The topic was Pandemics and Climate Change. Can they change US-China relations for the better? Professor Nick Butler, Founding Chair of King's Policy Institute, King College London, spoke on the governance of the changing international energy market. Dr. Robert Faulkner, Associate Professor of International Relations, Research Director of the Grantham Research Institute on Climate Change and the Environment, LSE, delivered a speech on China, the US, and international climate cooperation in an age of geopolitical rivalry. The last contribution in this panel was a speech delivered online by Dr. Hu Bin, Associate Research Fellow at the Institute of Climate Change and Sustainable Development, Tsinghua University, China. The topic was Towards Carbon Neutrality, Strategies and Challenges in China. Discussion, Q&A. Coffee, tea break. Panel 2, Digital Security and Geopolitics. The Panel 2 chair and discussant was Dr. Boyi Li, LSE Fellow, Department of Management, London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE, member of Global China Academy Council. A presentation on the future of global technology governance was delivered by Professor Madeleine Carr, Department of Computer Science, Faculty of Engineering Science, Director of the UK-wide Research Institute in Socio-Technical Cybersecurity, RISCS, University College London. Mr. Nigel Inkster, Senior Advisor for Cybersecurity and China, former Director of Future Conflict and Cybersecurity at the International Institute for Strategic Studies, IISS, spoke on digital security in an age of ideological conflict. Dr. Xiaogai Chen, Senior Lecturer, Business School, University of Edinburgh, UK, presented his speech online. The topic was Digital Virus, Antigen and Antibody, Building Intellectual Immunity and People-Centered Digital Infrastructure. The final contribution to this panel was also delivered online. Professor Rong Ke, Deputy Director of Institute of Economics, School of Social Sciences, Tsinghua University, China, spoke about the digital economy, global co-opetition, and new growth drivers. Discussion Q&A. Lunch. GCA Board of Trustees meeting. The meeting was chaired by Mrs. Ingrid Cranfield, Chair of Global China Academy Board of Trustees, Honorary Secretary of Global China Academy Council, President of Global Century Press UK. Panel 3, Personal and Cultural Identities, State and Corporation. The Panel 3 chair was Professor Peter Schroeder, Department of History and European and International Social and Political Studies, University College London, Vice President and Founding Fellow of Global China Academy. Professor Peter van der Veer, Professor and Director of the Study of Religious and Ethnic Diversity, Max Planck Institute, Germany, Life Fellow of Global China Academy, contributed with an online speech on religious and secular identity in China from a comparative perspective. Likewise, Professor Laurence Rouleau-Berger, Research Director at the National Centre for Scientific Research, CNRS, France, Life Fellow of Global China Academy, contributed online. Her speech was entitled Young Chinese Migrants, Compressed Individual and Global Conditions. A video presentation on Glocal China, the Rural Face of Shenzhen, followed, given by Professor Carsten Hermann Pilat, Professor and Permanent Fellow at the Max Weber Center for Advanced Cultural and Social Studies at Erfurt University, Germany, Vice President and Founding Fellow of Global China Academy. Dr. Qing Kao, Associate Professor in the School of Modern Languages and Cultures, Durham University, member of Global China Academy Council, spoke online on Chinese state developmentalism and cultural heritage. The last contribution to this panel was delivered online by Professor Li Chunling, Professorial Research Fellow, Institute of Sociology, Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, Director of Youth and Social Issues Research Office, China, who spoke on Children of the Reform and Opening Up, China's New Generation and New Era of Development. The discussant was Professor David Parkin, FBA, Emeritus Professor, Fellow, All Souls College, former Head Anthropology and Museum Ethnography, University of Oxford, Life Fellow of Global China Academy. Q&A. Coffee tea break. Panel 4, Reforming the Institutions. The Panel 4 chair was Mr. Charles Grant, Director of Centre for European Reform, former trustee of the British Council, member of Global China Academy Board of Trustees. Better Institutions for Disasters and Crises, the Response to a Dangerous Divergence, was the topic of the online presentation by Sir Mark Lowcock, Visiting Professor, London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE, former head of the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Effective multilateralism in a time of great power rivalry was delivered online by Mr. Masood Ahmed, President at the Center for Global Development, Washington, D.C. The importance of engagement and dialogue, behavioral changes for better shared global responses, was also delivered online. The speaker was Dr. Colin Bradford, non-resident Senior Fellow Global Economy and Development, Brookings Institution, US, Global Fellow of the Berlin Global Solutions Summits, and lead co-chair of the China-West Dialogue. The last contribution to this panel was Good Finance and Good Society, Financial Institutional Reform, delivered online by Dr. Zheng Lu, Associate Professor of Sociology, Rong Professor of Data Sciences, Affiliated Professor in Schwarzman College in Tsinghua University, China. The discussant was Professor Robin Cohen, Senior Research Fellow at Kellogg College, Emeritus Professor and former Director of the International Migration Institute, University of Oxford, Life Fellow of Global China Academy, UK. Q&A. Closing session. The closing session chair was Mrs. Ingrid Cranfield, Chair of Global China Academy Board of Trustees, Honorary Secretary of Global China Academy Council, President of Global Century Press, UK. Closing remarks. Professor Martin Jakes, Senior Fellow at the Department of Politics and International Studies, University of Cambridge, Life Fellow of Global China Academy, UK, asked, "Can we rise to the challenge?" Professor Zhao Kejing, Professor and Chair of Department of International Relations, Deputy Dean of the School of Social Sciences at Tsinghua University, China, spoke online on strong organizational governance, China's governance experience under the impact of COVID-19. Book launch. GCP was proud to launch China and the Shared Human Future, Exploring Common Values and Goals by Martin Albro, edited by Xiangchong Chang. And now may I ask Martin Albro to say a few words, please.
Well, I think it's an extraordinary privilege to be able to promote my book at the end of this conference. And I won't say any more about it at all. I just want to thank the Global China Academy for allowing me to end my career on a high note. I began it 60 years ago in October 1961. That was my first professional appointment. I traveled down to Leicester with a friend from the LSE. Well, he was called Tony Giddens. And the two of us together, we started our careers then. Mine has had a different trajectory. In 1987, the institution I worked for went bankrupt. And ever since, I've moved from place to place. And I think since then, I've worked in 14 institutions. And the Global China Academy is the summit of my achievement. And I'm announcing today my retirement. I'm retiring from professional life, but I'm going to continue writing the things I want to write about, not for academics or the academic world, but I hope for the general readership. And thank you all very much indeed for giving me this wonderful occasion, especially Joachim. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Martin.
Everything I want to say about this book as editor is in my editor's preface.
I'd like to make one point here. As early as 1986, when Professor Martin Obrel founded the Journal for International Sociology, he realized that no political, cultural, or linguistic barrier for publications were principles of many Western so-called international academic journals. In practice, those barriers existed, especially the linguistic one, requiring authors to write in perfect English. Obrel's policy was that no paper would be rejected on the language grounds, which means that they had to access papers in the language of their origin first. Therefore, he invited Dai Kejing of the Institute of Sociology, Chinese Academy of Social Science, to be an associate editor of the journal, and helped some Chinese sociologists publish their articles in the international journal. The Global Central Press carries on the policy, continued to bring Chinese social, scientific, and humanity work in the English-speaking world.
So I say no more words about it. I'm very pleased to brought Professor Robin Cohen all the way from Oxford to say a few words about this book.
Okay, I'm very conscious, Chair, that we need to rush. So let me just make one point, and one point only. There are many aspects of the relationship between China and the West that are covered here, but the key discussion is about how cultures meet or collide. And very interestingly, Martin Obrel has picked an important word called transculturation, which the editor points out appears no fewer than 182 times in that book. And so that's really what it's about, transculturalization. And I want to make clear that this is a very different concept from what we normally talk about, namely dialogue. If it's only dialogue, there's party A and there's party B, and they talk to each other, but they don't necessarily change each other. And linguists have a very interesting distinction between a pidgin and a Creole. A pidgin is a language that you develop, which is very restricted, very instrumental, very narrow, without any great conceptual depth. And you retain your own languages. But a Creole gets bigger and bigger. It grows more and more to the point where your own language recedes and the Creole emerges as the mother tongue. And that seems to me to be the crucial way of talking about a human shared planet, not in terms of dialogue. Okay, when we still retain our own ideas, sentiments, cultures, sensibilities, history, power, and so on, but we actually project forward to the point where we can actually create a new shared culture. Okay.
Thank you very much. This is the end of the dialogue.
Participants at the book launch. Reception. Drinks and networking. launch of new publications, and announcing the theme of GCD 8. The chair of the reception was Professor Elena Semino, FACSS, FRSA, Professor at Department of Linguistics and English Language, Director of ESRC, Center for Corpus Approaches to Social Science, CASS, Lancaster University.
My name is Elena Semino. I'm a professor of linguistics at the University of Lancaster, and I direct the Center for Corpus Approaches to Social Science, which is the sponsor of today's event. I should join everyone else in thanking the organizers. This has been a fantastic experience for me. It's not my usual crowd, but I can think of linguistic and discourse problems every time I listen to one of your presentations. But what we're here to do now, and I hope you've all had some wine and some refreshments, is to talk about a new book and new journals by Global Century Press. So we have several speakers. They have 3 minutes each, and I am tempted to chair quite ruthlessly, which is in my nature anyway, because this is what's separating us from dinner. So if you're speaking, bear that in mind, that people will be less merciful than they normally would. Okay, so without further ado, there are 3 sections to this event. The first section is an introduction to Global Century Press. And the next speaker is Professor Xiangchun Chang, who is going to talk about creating a transcultural hybrid global publisher. Over to you.
Good evening, everybody. Because everybody had a long day, I just threw away my little speech note. I want to highlight a few things about the character of Global Century Press. The reason we gave all the books and the journal, and we make this brochure every year like this, because we try to form our own future and character. And the key word would be transcultural products. So we are making transcultural products, which is, you can see Chinese elements there, you can see Western elements, you can see different future, but we try to make it, in Chinese words, it's 中西合璧. You can mix it in a lousy way, you can mix it in a high quality way. We try to mix them into a better way. So I just want to say, for example, the map, the cover, you can tell, that is all map. That means global. And then everywhere we have a map. Sometimes people say you only have half a map, but so if you see the whole thing, you can see the whole map there. So that means we do things global, and we do comparative perspective in China. We are using China as comparative to compare with different countries and regions for different topics, cross-discipline. So that's what we do. And as an academy, we do things like we have final products. So that's how this academy is different from others, because we have a press. And we, over the period years, we can see how we create something, and we can make a contribution from Chinese studies or commercial study on China to make to add the sum of human knowledge. So that's our aim. Thank you very much.
Okay, I would now like to welcome Mark Lee. Right, Mark, who is a graphic designer and typesetter at Global Century Press, and he's going to talk about the press's model for English and Chinese dual language typesetting.
I'm going to try anyway. I've had water and I wish it was wine now. I'm used to being behind the scenes. Well, I'm the graphic designer and the typesetter, and all this is mine. I don't speak a word of Chinese, so I've typeset all the proceedings from the previous years. So it's been very insightful to actually be here today for the first time to see it unfold. And Zanshin's organised a hybrid conference today spanning multiple time zones for the first time in the middle of a global pandemic. So I'd like to thank her for inviting me and for the enormous amount of time and effort she's put into us all together today. The title of my segment is perhaps a bit misleading. I originally thought to offer a visual presentation to illuminate the technical details of dual language typesetting, but then I realised it would actually be really dull to lift that veil. Good editorial design should be invisible, like me. It's a window you look through to facilitate a reader's engagement with the content. You might find a book cover, for example, pleasing to the eye, but I hope you do it after you've read the title and you've engaged with the idea that the book is communicating. So at Global Century Press, our goal was to present dual language content in a way that satisfies both Chinese and Western eyes. So on reflection, I realised that decisions like choosing when to use a Chinese comma or English comma, or when to use a fixed space or a flexible one, they're just surface details. The Global Century Press typesetting it's not really a task, but it's a proper transcultural process. Zanshin and I have got a unique working relationship. After typesetting a document, where we work together to fine-tune the details live, using WeChat to talk while sharing images of the text to either explain our ideas or to try and show the results of our changes. Zanshin leans on me for the fine details of English and my experience in publishing, and in turn I rely heavily on Zanshin for her knowledge of Chinese language, history and culture, and her in-depth understanding of each book and journal that we work on. I've got a lot to learn about the nuances of typesetting in Chinese, but I think it's this transcultural partnership that's the actual heart of GCP's model. The typesetting is really just the result of it. I think it demonstrates everything that GCP and the Global China Academy stand for. So, thank you for listening.
Okay, so those of you who were here earlier, so we have two people who are going to talk about the book as reviewers. I hope you guys are here. Dr. Boyle. Yes, oh yes, come along. 3 minutes for you two.
Thank you, Professor. I think after one long day of having this conference, everybody already have a good idea of the relationship between China and the study of China, its cultural history, and the global governance, or some idea of it. So I'm going to save you a lot of time by highlighting some of the points that are by reading Martin Albro's book, China and the Shared Future in Exploring Common Values and Goals. Some of those ideas that I find very, very illuminating. So, looking into the post-pandemic world, a stored globalization battled by resurgent nationalism on global scale, ironically, an international order edging back to a game of great powers 19th century style, or worse, the Cold War 20th century style. A renewed hope for governance protocols for tackling global challenges like climate change, poverty and biocultural diversity. A hyper-networked digital platform posing questions to our pillar understandings of modernity as institutions of human worth, democracy and choose. So what would Max Weber made of the 2020s in terms of the theoretical question that he adventured and explored in early 20th century? And I think that's the most striking question that Martin Albro showed in his book, and that just keep me hooked into that book and keep reading chapters by chapters. And my general feeling is that when you look at the table of the contents, the chapters are made of very, very loose, connected themes from Belt and Road to globalization to Martin Albro's own intellectual journey with Max Weber. But somehow when I read some key quotes, many of the readings, by the way, read a bit more like the novel of Marcel Proust. Sorry, I exposed my private reading. So it's very experiential in a sense that you're almost unready to take the very striking points, very insightful points, just on the second that you stick with the book. So I'm going to share with you one or two, given my digital background. So when I read this quote, it was a threat of nuclear holocaust, and that signaled the end of modern age and its displacement by the golden age. And now it's the turn for the golden age to be replaced by the digital age. But it's so easy to slip through, and with such a big claim. And I have to stay on the page for minutes and minutes to try to work out what Professor Alborough is meaning by there. And then he went on, pointing out, in the case of globalizations identified here, this is not globalism. This is global governance in practice. You can see my struggle. We travel from the definition, the concept of modern age to digital age, and then there's a difference between globalism and global governance in practice. That just put me in a very, very exciting mode of thinking through all the topics and points and amazing arguments made by our panels today. And my understanding is that maybe an idea form like globalization, or what could be the normative best practice, is not the best way to tackle the kind of global challenges ranging from digital misinformation or digital virus or physical virus, whatever, and to climate change. Because we have to put all the things, good ideas, different understandings, into practice and put the global governance into the actions, because actions will be conducive to understandings. And then we will think about what globalism would mean in the new age. And it probably be, in that sense, it probably be less fruitful to stay with the theorization and roots of what globalization is and how it took place, and whether we should keep the good benefits of that and try to avoid the next one. It's probably time to rethink in a grander scale, like Martin Alborough showed us, to really follow the steps of, theoretical steps of Max Weber, to follow the way we rationalize ourselves, and also, more importantly, the pragmatism that all the nations, countries, no matter how different they are, all having in common, the pragmatic spirit of putting things into actions. Thank you.
And then another reaction response to the book by Dr. Yang Wu.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to provide a book review, Professor Zhang. Thank you, Boyi, for covering some theoretical ground already. I'm going to make 3 points, hopefully fit into 3 minutes. First point, the innovativeness of the book lies in the approach to bridging purely academic inquiry with theme-oriented work addressing contemporary social issues. The book reflects Alborough's deep knowledge of and rich experience in public affairs and compassionate politics. Alborough draws his inspiration from Max Weber's study of religion, nationalism, power, and the market for understanding the relationship between multiculturalism and globalization. This firm belief in diversity leads the author's credence in global governance to safeguard a human future. This new global governance will need to be open and inclusive, containing elements from both left and right ideology, from communitarian and cosmopolitan ethics, depending on the current configuration of geopolitics and the means of mobilizing support. The second unique feature of the book is that shows Alborough has studied and practiced shared human values, through his academic endeavor to engage with both West and Chinese scholarship. Albro views China's rise as coupled with the desire to ride the tides of Western globalization for its own benefit while maintaining continuity with its own ancient culture. So to Albro, this differs China from Western-inspired models of governance. The success of China is therefore built upon the adaptation and assimilation of both Marxism and Western economics and social sciences into its own culture tradition. Therefore, the future development of China is on the spirit of finding common goals and shared projects with other nations. Underpinning this book is transculturality as an effective theoretical and methodological tool for the study of globalization as a contested discourse and a master narrative. The merit of transculturality lies in the belief in shared values and a common interest among humanity without suggesting domination or supremacy. Albro proposed by practicing transculturality, governmental or non-governmental agency make a contribution to a developing common discourse, reinterprets for domestic audiences, and returns to take the dialogue forward. So it is obvious that Albro has practiced transculturality in compiling this book. The book contains co-authored articles by Albro with Chinese scholars, speeches delivered to Chinese audiences, and a panel discussion between him and other international scholars. For that reason, this book cannot be read as a conventional academic textbook or a monograph focusing on specialized subject. Instead, this book could be viewed as a map of a journey that takes readers on a Weberian quest for the search of the meaning of Chinese culture and modernity. Much of the book reads as a conversation resembling the many dialogues taking place between Albro and his scholarly friends along this journey. Thank you very much.
Okay, so this journal is the Journal of Corpus Approaches to Chinese Social Sciences, and we have two people telling us about it. The first one is Dr. Qing Cao.
Hello, good evening. Nice to see you again. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to introduce this exciting new journal, Corpus Approaches to Chinese Social Sciences. So this is a timely addition to the current academic journal market with its novel approach of using corpus linguistics in the study of the Chinese society. So novel in the sense that the corpus linguistics as a social research tool is relatively new. So within China, corpus linguistics is broadly conceived as a sub-discipline in the study of linguistics. However, the importance of application of corpus linguistics as a research tool is increasingly recognized. So this journal is the currently only English-language journal devoted to the study of the Chinese society using corpus linguistics. A corpus is a collection of naturally occurring examples of language use. So corpus analysis provides quantitative evidence from a large pool of data and can be processed using a computer. It provides an excellent opportunity to test and challenge of ideas, hypotheses, and intuitions about language use embedded in social change. So computer-performed calculations can assist us in manipulating a huge amount of data which are relevant to the issues and questions we are concerned with. Obviously, the launch of this journal is contextualized in the fundamental social changes in contemporary China that challenges all China scholars to interpret them. So the magnitude, profoundness, impact of China's transformation, both within China and in the world, requires us to make sense of these transformations and what they mean for China and for the world in the future. So I hope in this process, this journal, Corpus Approaches to Chinese Social Sciences, will make an important contribution. This journal is open to all papers using corpus approach in the study of the Chinese society. And we hope you will all support this journal and would very much appreciate it if you could just pass the message on to any interested scholars, because we are now starting to open to paper submissions. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Okay, and now my Lancaster colleague, Dr. Gavin Brooks, is also going to tell us his perspective on the same journal.
Thank you. So I won't be too long, because I'm aware that I stand between everybody here and a hot meal. My name is Gavin Brooks. I'm a UKRI Future Leader Fellow at Lancaster University in linguistics, and I'm also a member of the Centre for Corpus Approaches to Social Science, which Eleanor is the director of. Promoting this journal today is quite easy for me, really, particularly because Dr. Chinkal just gave a fantastic introduction and an overview of the field, but also because I think that this day and the talks that we've seen today have really promoted the value and timeliness of this journal. You all have a copy of it in your goodie bags for today, by the way. Two things that have emerged from today for me. First is the immense and diverse ways that I think social science research can help us to understand our rapidly changing world, and of course the role of China within that. And that makes this journal really timely, I think. And another thing that really makes this journal quite timely is something that Eleanor alluded to as a fellow linguist, is as I've sat there today, every talk I thought, oh, there's a linguistic problem in there, or there's a linguistics question. And actually quite often we heard how the discourse or the vocabulary is important for mediating our relationships and understanding our world, including mediating relationships between nations, of course. So with all that said, I think this journal is very timely. I'm very excited and honoured to be a part of the editorial board, and over the next few years I look forward to supporting the wonderful editorial team who've put this together to help them to make it the success that I'm sure that it will be. So thank you very much.
The theme of GCA 8 was announced: Global Governance for Health.
Now, I think some of you have been waiting for this all day, the announcement of the theme of the next event, the 8th in the series, and another colleague of mine from Lancaster, Tony McHenry, is going to tell you about that.
Actually, in many ways, I don't think the next theme will surprise you, because we've heard it again and again and again today. What we'll be looking at next time is the governance of global health. So that will be the theme, global health. Many times today we've heard global health come as an issue for obvious reasons. Also in conversation over wine, I've had conversations about how actually things like climate change are very similar in terms of the challenges that it brings to issues like global health. It's an issue where no one country can solve the issue. We need to work together in order to address some of these pressing issues. And it's not just about COVID, of course. There are a whole range of issues in global health that are important. And of course, China is an interesting, dynamic economy, is also engaging with health issues that are perhaps familiar in the West, but in new ways. So if you think about the rise of instances of cancer, or instances of dementia in China, the negative effects, if you like, of an aging society, a society which is now beginning to age, those are interesting questions too, because we see some of these issues, which we might think are global human issues, actually play out slightly differently in different societies as those societies engage with those mortalities. So that will be the theme of the next dialogue. I'm thoroughly looking forward to it, and I hope you all come along and make a contribution, because as we heard today, the more we talk, the better things are. And these are really existential issues again that we'll be discussing at the vital and important forum that is the Global China Dialogue. So thank you very much, and come along.
Right, and the program tells me that we've got another perspective on the next event from Professor Nora and Colton.
So thank you very much. It's really great to be here, and it's a pleasure to really be able to help launch this next topic, which is, the governance of global health. So I'd just like to take a few minutes and really talk about that, because that dialogue and theme is going to be co-organized by the school that I direct at UCL, which is the Global Business School for Health. And it's the first business school in the world totally dedicated to health. And we're quite excited about what that means and how that translates across cultures and societies. So it could not be a more timely topic as we see the challenges of global health. As we just heard, and health governance today has been very challenged over the last 2 years as we've witnessed the world really struggling with containing COVID-19, alongside exposing many weaknesses in our health systems and governance as well. The pandemic has really caused health systems to scramble for access to vaccines, and we've seen wealthier countries buy those vaccines and lower income countries do without. The World Health Organization struggles constantly and calls for equity in vaccine access. So moreover, we've also come to appreciate the impact social determinants of health have on individual health and cohorts of our population that have witnessed a deterioration in many countries. So consequently, alongside coping with the pandemic, we see that failure to address climate change, as was just noted, the global prevalence of non-communicable diseases, inadequate access to health care services, and the lack of health workers globally are issues that cannot be addressed by one country. But they really require a global governance system to manage effectively. Yet the past 2 years, sadly, have reminded us that we still have inadequate global cooperation and inefficient global institutions, rules, and collective action when it comes to health. The questions about global health governance effectiveness are not new. Every time we have a health crisis, they are highlighted. Yet the stakeholders who make up our global health governance system and community and oversight, they have evolved. Today, we don't just think of the World Health Organization. We have growing influence of philanthropists, such as the Gates Foundation. They have views and they impact on global health, as well as policymakers and activists. And moreover, global health governance includes new legal environments, public-private partnerships, financial markets, intergovernmental organizations, charities, multinationals, and the great involvement of our non-governmental organizations. So although the increase in the actors are welcome, all these various groups that now contribute to global health governance create a complex agenda, and with multiple layers, addressing global health problems in different ways, with different views, divergent processes, and also principles. The concern is that these competing global health players can create suboptimal outcomes for population health. The defeats of our current global health governance system may fail to prevent health problems from becoming global dangers. It may not be producing effective responses to global health. So the Global China Dialogue is a great place to explore these challenges and opportunities. China has an aging population, continued economic growth, but more importantly, a desire to reimagine healthcare management and governance. The Healthy China 2030 strategy emphasizes the need to develop the health sector in China. Like much of the world, China is seeing an increased expenditure on healthcare. In 2020, it's estimated that $1.1 trillion was spent on healthcare, which is about 7% of the Chinese GDP. China has also seen significant regulatory reforms in the health sector, alongside the need to think more about healthcare in a new global governance framework that sees global health as one of the most critical issues to be addressed with the engagement of a wide variety of stakeholders. Consequently, the next Global China Dialogue topic is extremely important and timely. And I really look forward to having the UCL Global Business School for Health being a co-organizer. Thank you.
Participants at the launch of new publications. Global China Academy founding event. The event chair was Professor Li Wei, FAE, FBA, FACSS, FRSA, Director and Dean of Institute of Education, University College London, Non-Executive Chair of Global China Academy Council and Founding Fellow.
The very important part of today's event, it is the launch of the Academy, the Global China Academy. I really cannot stress stress more of the timeliness and significance of this new academy. I'm sure all of us here know of the discourses of the China threat out there. And as Martin's book reminded us, China plays a key role in our shared human future. And that's why what we need is not hostility or fear of China, but more and deeper and better China literacy. And this is what this academy is all about, to increase the opportunities for dialogue, for interaction between China and the UK especially, but really China and the rest of the world as well. So we're here to launch the Academy. We have a description. It's a UK-based independent worldwide fellowship that advances comprehensive studies on China in the social sciences and humanities, taking language-based, comprehensive, comparative and global perspectives. It adds to the sum of human knowledge and encourages participation in global society building and governance. That's the aim of the Academy. I think we're going to do the presentation of the certificate first. May I ask Ingrid to start with the first batch of presentation?
Well, very conveniently, I happen to be standing next to Professor Jeremy McKenzie, to whom I will be pleased to present a certificate as a founding fellow of the Global China.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And next I have Professor Li Wei himself.
Hi.
And then I am pleased to present a certificate to somebody we all know quite well, Professor Tilke. And also quite conveniently, I happen to be standing next to Professor Peter Schroeder. Please present to him as well. And lastly on my list I have Professor Julia Strauss.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. Can I ask Tony to present the next batch of Life Fellows?
Okay, it's an enormous pleasure to invite Professor Robin Cohen. He will get his certificate.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then David Parkin.
Thank you, Tony.
A certificate was presented by Professor Xiangchun Chang, President and Founding Fellow of Global China Academy, to the Global China Academy Life Fellow, Professor Maria H. A. Yashok, Senior Research Associate of the Contemporary China Studies Program, Oxford School of Global and Area Studies, Visiting Professor 2019-21, Arts and Humanities Research Institute, King's College, University of London, Life Fellow of Global China Academy.
And the last group of trustees and council members are going to be presented by Professor Chang.
The first is Global China Academy Chair Board of Trustees, Ingrid. Lee is our council member for events. He is General Secretary of Global China Dialogue series, so he's been very helpful for this event. And next is Dr. Wu Yan. Wu Yan is also a council member for media.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all for the presentations. We are now going to hear or watch the video of those members who are not here today.
This is a very good moment when we are enjoying the 7th Global China Dialogue, when we're looking at the reform of global governance, to think of the Global China Academy. That's the creation of Professor Xiangchun Chang and many others who've helped over the last 10 years or so to build something which will contribute in a lasting way to understanding between China and the rest of the world. The basic philosophy behind it is that we understand each other better if we do things together. And the creation of the Global China Academy and the Global Century Press are, I think, practical things which can contribute to this greater understanding. It's been a huge pleasure for me over recent years to be able to help in this project, and I do wish it every success in the coming decade and hopefully even longer than that. So it's with great pleasure that I say that I welcome and hope for the increasing success of the Global China Academy over the coming years. Good luck to you all, and thank you very much for the chance that I've had to help towards it. Thank you. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Li Qiang, a life professor of the School of Social Sciences and the director of the Center for Asian Studies at Tsinghua University of China. I'm also Chinese honorary president of Global China Academy, co-chair of Global China Dialogue Organizing Committee, and co-editor of the Global Center Press China Urbanization Studies books series. I'm very honored to accept invitation of Professor Martin Albro, Professor Tony McHenry, and Professor Xiangqun Chang to become the founding fellow and the Chinese chair of Global China Academy Council. I'm willing to work with social scientists and experts from all fields at home and abroad, making contribution to the creation of the platform for dialogue and exchanges between China and the world. I wish the Global China Academy bring better and better. Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, everyone. I'm Li Zhongxie, a professor of sociology and director of the Research Center for Social Theory at Peking University. I'm glad to see you all online tonight. Today's world is undergoing a process of tremendous change. It brought us many new challenges and requires us to find reasonable solutions and response. The Research Center for Social Theory at Peking University is one of the supporters of the Global China Dialogue series, and I am the co-editor of the Chinese Discourse book series that published by the Global Centuries Press. I'm very pleased that the Global China Academic, which created the above platform for scholars and experts worldwide, is officially launched today. I'm very honored to be invited by Professor Martin Albro, Professor Xiangqun Chang, and the Global China Academic Council as the academy's founding fellow and the Chinese president. I will try my best to serve you and make my own efforts to promote mutual exchange and understanding among scholars of study on China in a global context. I sincerely wish that the Global China Academy will make great achievements in the future. Thank you.
女士们、先生们，大家好！非常荣幸地接受常向群教授、Tony McHenry 教授和马丁·阿尔伯劳教授的邀请，成为全球中国学术院创院院士及理事会中方非执行主席。我是张晓东，江苏敏捷创新经济管理研究院、南京财经大学创新创业研究院院长及特聘教授。我是一个跨界者，从工业文明到数字文明，从事对于数据、数字化、数业经济、数业社会的研究及实践，深刻体会到在当今全球互联的世界，不存在离开全球的中国，也不存在遗忘中国的全球。几年来参加全球中国对话等活动，更深感全球中国学术院生逢其时，大有可为。唯愿与大家一起协力同行，将全球中国学术院打造成具有广泛和深远影响力的学术及交流平台，为共创人类福祉而不懈努力。谢谢大家。
Dear chairs, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, in these strange times of pandemics, I cannot join this important event. You see, I joined from my living room and also equipped with some Chinese-style environment. I am really, really happy to join this initiative, and I want to congratulate the organizers of Global China Academy to launch this initiative. Once upon a time, there was another kind of globalization. And I show you just a book. Wait a second. Maybe you can recognize something. This is a book about the wisdom of the Chinese. And it was published in the 18th century, the first part, by the most significant, important philosopher of the German Enlightenment before Kant, Christian Wolff. And he was at that time a professor at a university close to my university, Erfurt University, which is Halle, so a long history also of these universities. And Wolff was very, very influential in his time. And he believed that the Chinese had developed already a kind of practical philosophy that he deemed important to overcome the backwardness of Europe in these absolutist times. This did not last long. I think beginning with Kant, the Germans started to forget the Chinese, and Hegel was very pronounced in saying that Confucianism is not a philosophy at all. And so the picture changed entirely. And even in China. So the Chinese, as we all know, in the 20th century were convinced that modernization would mean to study the West. Of course, keeping Chinese essence, some cultural essence, but it was not even fully clear what that would mean. In the 1990s, I noticed that this is a big problem. So there is a flow of ideas from West to East, China, but almost no flow back, as in these days of Christian Wolff. China was very influential in intellectual terms, but it was just an episode in intellectual history. At the turn of the millennium, I organized, together with the famous Chinese economist Mao Yushi, an initiative to make social science research, Chinese social sciences research, accessible to a global public. That was funded by Robert Bosch Foundation, but it did not last long because people thought it's not that significant. And so I'm really, really happy that now we have this new attempt. Now with much more institutional backing, and I hope also a little money, of course, to launch vehicles which allow for the transfer of Chinese thought, Chinese social science thinking, Chinese thinking in the humanities to the world, really to globalize not only Chinese intellectual contributions, but really to globalize also our what is still dominated by Western ideas in philosophy, social sciences, and so on. And I'm also very proud that I was invited to be vice president of this initiative, responsible for European engagement. I have no clear idea what that would mean, but at least given my past activities, I can imagine the possibilities. Yeah, I hope you enjoy. Now, as I understand, this is a sort of message delivered at dinner. Please enjoy dinner. I hope some Chinese delicacies, and I really regret that I cannot be with you. Thank you for your attention.
Good evening. I am Peter van der Veer, and I'm an anthropologist who has worked for nearly 30 years on the topic of religion and nationalism in India. In the last 20 years, I have become interested in comparing India and China. I have done field work in Fujian about religious networks between Fujian and Singapore, on religion in the border areas of China and Vietnam, as well as on urban religion in Shanghai. The main reason that I have accepted the invitation to become a live member of the Global China Academy is that I feel that it is impossible to have a social science that does not include Chinese society. Over the last 20 years, I have tried hard to connect Chinese anthropologists and sociologists with their counterparts in the West. I'm especially interested in fieldwork in China that enables us to ask comparative questions. I hope that a Global China Academy will be an element in the attempt to integrate Chinese social science and Western social science. I look forward to participating in this endeavor. Thank you.
被授予全球中国学术院院士的称号，我感到非常荣幸。改革开放以来，中国的人文社会科学事业取得了长足的发展，对外交流也越来越活跃。全球中国学术院在推动关于中国问题的比较研究等方面做了很多重要的工作。我能成为学术院的一员，真的是非常高兴。我相信，今后全球中国学术院作为交流平台、学术研究平台的作用会发挥的越来越明显。我期待着在疫情过后，与全球中国学术院的各位院士能够有更多的交流，祝全球中国学术院越来越好。
Good evening, everyone. My name is Prasenja Dwara. I am the Oscar Tang Chair Professor of East Asian Studies at Duke University in the United States. This evening, I wish to congratulate President Martin Albro and the Global China Dialogue for the launch of the Global China Academy. I am very honored to be appointed a life fellow of the Academy, and I fully support and endorse the publication plans of the Academy on such pressing topics of our times as reform of global governance and related issues. So once again, congratulations, and I'm sorry I cannot be there in person, much as I would like to, but have a good time and good wishes, best wishes for the Academy.
I'm Ping Zheng, Professor of Jilin University of China. 我研究的领域是文化社会学和文化哲学。我非常高兴成为英国全球中国学术院院士。我曾经访问过英国，和英国学者一起交流有关全球化的社会发展和文化发展的问题。我和英国著名的马丁·阿尔布劳教授有长期的学术交流的友好关系。我非常愿意努力推动中国和英国两国学者之间的学术交流和合作，并祝愿这个英国全球中国学术院越办越好。
Dear Professor Zhang, Professor McNary, Professor Lee, Professor Xie, ladies and gentlemen, Daja Hao. I'm deeply honored by the kind invitation to become a life fellow of the Global China Academy, and I apologize for not being able to share today's launch of the Academy in person. My name is Bettina Granzo, and I'm affiliated with the China Studies Institute at the Freie Universität Berlin. Chinese sociology is one of my research fields, and I'm grateful to Professor Zhang Xiangqun for bringing me into the China in Comparative Perspectives network around a decade ago. I'm sure that the Global China Academy will become an excellent platform for intensifying our collaboration, particularly in these challenging times. I'm looking forward to a fruitful cooperation and wish you a successful start of the new Academy and a great evening. Ganbei.
Hello there. I'm Gu Yiguo, greeting you in Beijing. I retired from the Chinese Academy as a linguist by training 2 years ago. I was invited back at the same time by Beijing Foreign Studies University to work on artificial intelligence and human language research lab. I've been working on Chinese corpus linguistics, particularly multimodal corpus linguistics, for about 30 years. I'm also interested in Chinese painting, Chinese calligraphy, Chinese writing system, and traditional Chinese medicine. I feel honored and privileged to be a member of the Academy. I wish the Academy all the success. Okay, see you.
That's all the videos. Thank you very much. I think dinner is ready to be served. Thank you. Thank you. We are now going to hear or watch the video of those members who are not here today.
I'm Dr. Tom Clark, Trustee and Treasurer of Global China Academy. My whole life has taught me that the way to make progress is through understanding things very precisely. For me, in the hard sciences and engineering, that precision has been pretty easy. But we now know that in the 21st century, the challenges we have, geopolitical, environmental, are going to be more difficult. They relate to people and their behavior. And to understand that, we need anthropology and sociology, where getting precise understanding is so much more difficult than it is in what people unwisely call the hard sciences. So for me, developing a shared scientific understanding of these things between China and the West is a great mission for the 21st century, and it is a truly important purpose. So that's why, in these uncertain times, I support Global China Academy. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Yuan Cheng, a sociologist by training and a trustee of the Global China Academy. Currently, I work in Beijing as China managing partner of a global leadership consulting and talent solutions firm called Russell Reynolds Associates. We are living at a very special time with unprecedented environmental and geopolitical challenges. It is only natural that we need strong leaders to help us navigate and lead us through these challenging times. In particular, we need global-minded leaders who emphasize inter-regional collaboration and cross-cultural communication. Many of these leadership features will be covered by the conference to be held ahead of us. I'm a big supporter of GCA. From the Central Business District of Beijing, I would like to send my warmest wishes to all the participants and wish you a most successful conference. Thank you.
Prestigious guests, I'm Philip Hao, CEO of UVIC and the Director of Global Education and Innovation Research Center under GCA. It's a great honor to witness the founding, development, and the continuous success of GCA, which has made remarkable contribution to global China comparative studies and the development governance of the global society. It's a shame that I couldn't make it to London this time due to the pandemic. I want to thank the members who have been spending days and nights of hard work to make this year's dialogue possible. In recent years, globalization has been facing challenges on various aspects: populism, trade protectionism, and the non-stopping pandemic. The world seems to enter a relatively sealed status. Anti-globalization is in a simmering. In such an era, the dialogue, particularly with this year's theme, the reforms of global governance, is precisely relevant and confidence boosting. I look forward to your thoughts and insights this year. Also, I would like to say to Professor Chang, do take good care of your health, as it really matters to all of us. Thank you.
各位女士们、先生们，你们好！欢迎大家参与今年的会议。我是清华大学全球产业研究院秘书长曾劲松，有幸能够在此致辞。首先，由衷祝贺第7届全球中国对话的顺利开幕，同时也祝贺全球中国研究院的成立。非常感谢本年主办单位对筹办会议的付出与努力。本年会议的主题是全球治理改革。的确，我们正面临人类历史上最严峻的公共卫生危机之一，而这个危机同时带来了冲突和机遇。中国全球对话会议为探讨全球治理的改革提供了一个宝贵的交流平台。我期待看到各位嘉宾交流自己的想法、见解，共同提出对全球治理改革的建议，协助人类社会应对未来的挑战。感谢各位，预祝本年会议完满成功。
尊敬的各位来宾，线上线下的嘉宾朋友，女士们、先生们，大家好！非常荣幸受邀参加第7届全球中国对话。今天，中途公司与英国环球世界出版社合作的新书《中国与人类命运共同体》即将面世。这本书聚焦中国和整个人类所面临的重大时代命题，汇聚了阿尔布劳教授多年的优秀学术成果，是一部难得的佳作。在此，我仅代表中途公司向本书的作者阿尔布劳教授表示衷心的祝贺，向本书的编辑常向群教授致以诚挚的感谢，并预祝第7届全球中国对话取得圆满成功。谢谢大家。
好，大家好，我是江彪，非常荣幸能与大家一起相聚云端，参加第7届全球中国学术对话研讨会。本期会议大咖云集，也备受国内外专家学者的深切关注。作为此次学术会议的技术支持单位，我们将全力以赴做好技术服务工作，确保整个会议过程能够顺利进行。同时，美亚联创也期待未来与大家能有更多的学术、技术相关的合作。最后预祝大会圆满成功。
Dear friends, I'm Dr. Song Yiping, co-founder of 学术志 platform. As a famous academic education platform in China, 学术志 has more than 2 million users. 90% of them are social science researchers. We are honored to be one of sponsors the 7th Global China Dialogue for promoting its communication in China. As a well-known platform in this field, the Global China Academy has been encouraging international economic exchanges between China and foreign countries, especially with China in global and comparative perspectives. It is expected that this event will bring the latest thinking to academic researchers in this field. We will try our best to promote this significant event and maximize the widest participation of Chinese scholars. Best wishes for a successful event.
Hello everyone, this is Yi Chaozu currently in Wuxi, China. It is a pity that I'm not able to get there in London, but I'm still quite honored to be invited and very happy to meet all of you online. And as one of the sponsors, I would like to send my warmest congratulations to Global China Dialogue this year and the launch of the brand new Global China Academy. As the pandemic continues, our world has come to a kind of a point of a change. It is the right time for us to discuss reforming global governance, right? And I believe after that, we get chances to talk more. Maybe next time in person. Hope everything gets better. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Special thanks to the staff who provided help in many and varied ways before and after the event and on and off site. Dr. Boyi Li, Dr. Yan Wu, Mr. Lin Huang, Ms. Zhufeng Chang, Ms. Sarah Li, Mr. Mark Li, Ms. Wang Chunhua, Mr. Hugo Tai, Ms. Cheng Xiu Yang, Mr. Zhang Ling, Mr. Yang Bo, Ms. Ma Xiaoying, Ms. Zhang Ruiyu, Mr. Yao Cheng, Mr. Vince. Highlights of the 7th Global China Dialogue, launch of Global China Academy, GCA, and launch of new publications by Global Century Press. Narrator, Ingrid Cranfield. Music, Patriot, composer Du Yichao. The organizing committee of the Global China Dialogue series offers sincere thanks to organizers, supporters and of GCD 7, experts and scholars for sharing their wonderful thoughts and insights, all staff and volunteers of the conference team of the GCD 7, Wuxi New Culture Research Institute, MY Union Beijing Technology Company Limited, Suishu 1 Academic Harbor, Suishu Ji Academic Unswerving, Yunnan Nationalities University Volunteer Team. The dinner marked the conclusion of the 7th Global China Dialogue and associated events. Thank you for watching. See you at the 8th Global China Dialogue. Until then, goodbye. February 2022.